Yes, yes, said Levin, that's perfectly true. I always feel there's no real balance of gain in my work on the land, and yet one does it. It's a sort of duty one feels to the land. But I tell you what, the landowner pursued, a neighbor of mine, a merchant, was at my place. We walked about the fields and the garden. No, said he, Stepan Vasilyevich, everything's well looked after, but your garden's neglected. But, as a fact, it's well kept up. To my thinking, I'd cut down that lime tree. Here you've thousands of limes, and each would make 2 good bundles of bark. And nowadays that bark's worth something. I'd cut down the lot. And with what he made he'd increase his stock, or buy some land for a trifle, and let it out in lots to the peasants, Levin added, smiling. He had evidently more than once come across those commercial calculations. And he'd make his fortune. But you and I must thank God if we keep what we've got and leave it to our children. You're married, I've heard, said the landowner. Yes, Levin answered, with proud satisfaction. Yes, it's rather strange, he went on. So we live without making anything, as though we were ancient vestals set to keep in a fire. The landowner chuckled under his white mustaches. There are some among us, too, like our friend Nikolai Ivanovich, or Count Vronsky, that settled here lately, who try to carry on their husbandry as though it were a factory, but so far it leads to nothing but making away with capital on it. But why is it we don't do like the merchants? Why don't we cut down our parks for timber? Said Levin, returning to a thought that had struck him. Why, as you said, to keep the fire in. Besides, that's not work for a nobleman. And our work as noblemen isn't done here at the elections, but yonder, each in our corner. There's a class instinct, too, of what one ought and oughtn't to do. There's the peasants, too, I wonder at them sometimes. Any good peasant tries to take all the land he can. However bad the land is, he'll work it. Without a return too. At a simple loss. Just as we do, said Levin. Very, very glad to have met you, he added, seeing Sviashky approaching him. And here we've met for the first time since we met at your place, said the landowner to Sviashki, and we've had a good talk too. Well, have you been attacking the new order of things? Said Sviashki with a smile. That we're bound to do. You've relieved your feelings? Chapter 30. Sviashki took Levin's arm, and went with him to his own friends. This time there was no avoiding Vronsky. He was standing with Stepan Arkadyevitch and Sergei Ivanovitch, and looking straight at Levin as he drew near. Delighted. I believe I've had the pleasure of meeting you at Princess Sherbatska's, he said, giving Levin his hand. Yes, I quite remember our meeting, said Levin, and blushing crimson, he turned away immediately, and began talking to his brother. With a slight smile Vronsky went on talking to Sviashki, obviously without the slightest inclination to enter into conversation with Levin. But Levin, as he talked to his brother, was continually looking round at Vronsky, trying to think of something to say to him to gloss over his rudeness. What are we waiting for now? Asked Levin, looking at Sviashki and Vronsky. For Snetkov. He has to refuse or to consent to stand, answered Sviashki. Well, and what has he done, consented or not? That's the point, that he's done neither, said Vronsky. And if he refuses, who will stand then? Asked Levin, looking at Vronsky. Whoever chooses to, said Sviashki. Shall you? Asked Levin. Certainly not I, said Sviashki, looking confused, and turning an alarmed glance at the malignant gentleman, who was standing beside Sergei Ivanovitch. Who then? Nevyedovsky? Said Levin, feeling he was putting his foot into it. But this was worse still. Nevyedovsky and Sviashki were the two candidates. I certainly shall not, under any circumstances, answered the malignant gentleman. This was Nevyedovsky himself. Sviashki introduced him to Levin. Well, you find it exciting too? Said Stepan Arkadyevitch, winking at Vronsky. It's something like a race. One might bet on it. Yes, it is keenly exciting, said Vronsky. And once taking the thing up, one's eager to see it through. It's a fight, he said, scowling and setting his powerful jaws. What a capable fellow Saviashki is.